to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. If you're a longtime listener, you probably know my friend Peter Lang, the designer at CPA. He is the CPA who specializes in only interior design businesses. He's also one of the co-authors of my second book, The Power Talk Friday Experts. Well, if you know Peter, you know that he really is waiting for the day when the old style of accounting is gone. He really wants accountants to have a more proactive approach in their clients' financial lives. And my guest today, Mitch Hahn, is very much of the same belief. Yay. Okay. Mitch is the CEO of Nordens, a large established accounting firm in central London. Many of Mitch's clients are creatives, and they are drawn to him because of his ability to communicate with them and speak normal language. Okay. Now, Mitch is not new to the struggles and successes like accompany accounting for home designers. All right. Simply put, Mitch doesn't look at interior design from an accountant's perspective. He sees accounting from your perspective. And we know how crazy your books can be and how difficult they can be. And if you're not familiar with the industry, a typical CPA does have a hard time with it. So that's why it's really cool that Mitch understands the pain points of you as an interior designer. And the same understanding of struggles for designers is shared by one of our show sponsors, Article.com. Article is the easiest way to create a beautiful modern space. Their team really understands the interior design business because it's run by an interior designer, right? The trade team, I should say, be more specific, right? The trade team is run by an interior designer. All right. So in addition to the extensive catalog of high quality pieces, they offer you the very best every day in understanding what you go through. And they go above and beyond to make your business purchases easy and fast. All right. So go to welldesigned.article.com. That's welldesigned.article.com to get your trade account set up today. All right. So keep in mind to the end of the show here. At the end, Mitch mentions a global business consultancy that he has started, and we almost missed it. We almost didn't get to it, and it's so super exciting. So I'm just really looking forward to sharing this episode with you. Hi, Mitch. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business.
Thank you, LuAnn. Thank you for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Yes, I'm looking forward to our conversation. Normally, when I talk about accountancy and all things financial, I talk with my friend Peter Lang, but this is going to be fun talking with you about this. So, Mitch, today, though, we're going to talk about your company, Nordens, is a really large accounting firm, over 70 employees, and you've been in business for 18 years now almost, getting ready to celebrate your 18th anniversary. And this is a large firm, but you were explaining to me that you do have a significant number of not only interior designers as clients, but also creatives in general. And because of this, you feel like, and you understand there are certain needs that an interior design firm faces when they are thinking about their accounting and working with an accountant and working with a business consultant. So would you tell us a little bit about your feelings on that and where we want to start this conversation in relation to that?
Yeah, so we're like you say, we're a good sized firm. We're not a huge firm compared to some of the firms over here, but one thing that we really do, and I'm not avoiding your question, I'm just giving you a bit of background, is we really focus on relationships. And I think that's where we differentiate ourselves from a lot of other accountants over here. But the reason we tend to work with a lot of creatives, or rather creatives tend to want to deal with us, is because we talk their language. And I think we're partnered over here with quite a lot of creative houses where there's shared workspace full of creatives, not just interior designers, although I just explained to you before we came on how the interior design market is going to have a massive boost over here at the moment. But yeah, we tend to focus on relationships, and I think that most of the time, and it's probably, you hear this all the time, and especially if you've got friends over in London, and is that creatives aren't very good with numbers, and they are that's not fair. Most creatives tend to not want to work with numbers. They just want to create. They just want to be creative. They want to think inside their space. I'm thinking more of the smaller ones. Some of the larger firms tend to obviously go down a different route. They go past that stage. But if you look at a majority of interior designers and creators in the UK, they're not huge firms. The majority fall, between £100,000 turnover and a $1 million turnover. They're normally owned by one or two people, and I think that they want to create. And I find a lot of the time that there's accountants that talk to them in not their own language. They try and overcomplicate things. And I think one thing that we're extremely good at, and one thing that the reason why creators want to work with us, is because we talk their language. And I think that's extremely important, especially right now.
Well, it's the truth, because not only do many of us creatives not really want to talk or think about the numbers because it makes our heads spin, speaking for myself, but the truth is that is the problem, that when you go to have a conversation often with someone in the finance field who you are seeking out information and counsel from, so often they will talk back at you in their jargon. And I am as offended as that as I would think how I would want my client, whether I was dealing with window treatments or something having to do with podcasting or business coaching or whatever it might be, if I stayed in the loftiness of my jargon. It's insulting. It's ridiculous. It's because, and it's one thing if you just do it and you don't think, but when you look at me and I've got that deer in the headlights look and says, well, what does that mean? Like the accruals? Don't then look at me like, how could I not understand that? It's just say it to me in English, because probably in English, I'm going to understand it, right?
No, I think that, the stat over here is, I reckon about 95% of business owners, let alone the creative industry, can't understand their figures anyway. And that's even once they've been explained. So I think that, it's important, but I think a lot of the time as well, there's not many firms that actually try and understand what people actually want, and what business owners actually want. And every time I've met with, like I said, we partner with creative houses. So we'll go in and we'll do days where we just sit with all the designers and all the businesses that are based in these houses. And do you know, when we ask them what they're actually trying to achieve, they always come back with, you know what, you're the first accountant that's actually asked me that question. And that frightens me. That frightens me.
Yes. Well, and it's true, because you know what it is, Mitch? It would be no different. There is an interior designer worth his or her salt that would ever walk in and expect to begin a relationship with a homeowner or a commercial business owner or restaurant owner or hotel owner and expect them to hire them as the designer without them trying to understand their needs and without them taking the time to understand their goals and their vision for the space that they're asking them to design. But you're right. So often when we go out to work with some of the finance professionals, they don't come at it from the standpoint of, what do you need? Where am I meeting you at? What level of understanding do you have before we get this conversation going? Because, we are business owners and we're intelligent. And just because we don't understand actually the numbers to the level that an accountant does, it doesn't mean that we can't understand. And I love to hear that your position in your firm is that not only is that a belief system that you have that you want to help creatives understand it, but if creatives are attracted to your firm on a regular basis, that's the proof in the pudding that you are actually doing what you say you are doing.
Yeah, and I think that what I find is the creative personality is they find numbers scary, and I think that if you wouldn't get, for example, I'm not going to go into my apartment and expect it to be incredible and do it myself. I'm going to want a specialist person to come in. I'm going to go to it. In fact, I'm doing it right now. I've brought in an interior designer to come into my apartment. I've just bought a new place over here, so I'm actually going there tomorrow. And it's the same sort of thing. I think what we do with creatives, though, is we try and get them to understand the basics, because I think you can't just rely on a firm of accountants or an accountant to just give you all the information you need. I think you really do need to understand basic information in your business. So we try and educate as well, but not without scaring people. So, basic things like break-even point. I promise you wouldn't believe if I told you how many people didn't understand what their break-even point was.
Yes.
You wouldn't believe how many people didn't know what break-even was.
Mm-hmm.
And again, how can you go into business? How can you let a client of yours trade when they don't even understand what they need to earn to cover their costs?
No, I know. My husband calls it the cost to be open number. We all have to know our cost to be open number, and we should be every single day. Like we do in every single day. Where are our sales at today? July 30th, 2020, September 10th, 2020, whatever it is. We know exactly every month what our cost to be open number is. We know every day where we're at on track to reach that goal. What's our gross revenue on that day to reach that goal? We divide it by the day of the month and we project it out. Are we going to hit it? And we make moves every single day and every single week within our team when we don't look like we're going to hit our projections. So you're right. You have to start with what is your cost to be open number?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that as well, I mean, we had a quick story. We had a client who came to us from another firm of accountants, and they were asking, where, I'm making all this profit, but where's my cash? Where is my cash? It's the famous question, right? I'm sure you hear it all the time. I'm sure you answer it all the time. There's people, I think it's explaining and explaining to clients what the difference is. But to just going backwards, they came to us, where's all my cash? And my accountant's telling me that it's there, it's not there. They're telling me I'm making this much profit. It turns out they wasn't forecasting their jobs properly, and they didn't understand their break-even point. And what they were doing, they were flying to the client. It was based in south of France, so they were flying, and they weren't including traveling expenses, so they were not actually recovering any of their expenses.
Whoa!
And they actually made a loss on their job, and that job lasted 6 months. So that's 6 months of the year that they made a loss because they didn't include all the commuting backwards and forwards, and they didn't claim the cost back when they did when they quoted. They didn't include those costs. And not only that, when we said go and reclaim the cost and explain to the client, they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it because you creative people most of the time this client in particular were they didn't want to have that. They were introverted. They just want to create. They just want to. So there's it's educating as well. But I think it's pretty frightening how many people don't understand the basics.
Yeah, well, that your point is well made, and we say the same thing here on the show, is that we don't need to understand our finances to the level and expertise that our accountant does, but we do need to have a good working knowledge of it, because when you do, it really gives you power, and the knowledge is in the power and the understanding, and you make better decisions. And what I know is not only do you feel better because you have a sense of of control over your finances, but you're so much less likely to let things that you should be charging for go uncharged, because when you really start to look at the actual numbers, it becomes, oh, I did that work. I flew to the south of France, and I need to be reimbursed for that. It's when you sort of are like, well, it's probably all fine. It's all in the pot somewhere. And that's where the danger is. So let me ask you something. I hear that you're committed to helping creatives and interior designers understand their numbers and to take care with them when you have your conversations and you help them with their businesses. But do you have suggestions for a designer to find the right accountant? And what about the benefits of working with somebody on a close basis as opposed to possibly, doing it yourself or, with a software platform like QuickBooks or something like that, or in conjunction? Tell us a little about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think what we've done to help is we give tools now. So when we work with creatives, we tend to give tools. So basic break-even points, forecasting templates, and we say to them here, when they come on board, we've actually got packages. So we say, for example, if you're this size or how many, based on turnover most of the time, but we offer packages. So we give them tools to work out their break-even point per job. We give them tools to work out their profit, their cash, and also HR provide that, because at the moment staffing is a major issue as well. But I think the most important thing is finding someone who understands what your goals are and who are aligned. You wouldn't be friends with someone who doesn't, you wouldn't be friends with someone who doesn't, or let someone in your circle who doesn't want to improve you. And I think that right now, especially over here, accountants are really trying. Every accountant over here is a business advisor. Every single accountant. I'm sure, I don't know if it's the same over there, but they tend to market themselves as business advisor. But my main thing is ask for a recommendation from someone you respect. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think recommendations are so underrated.
I think it's an excellent place to start, actually. If you have a colleague in the industry and they are because I do talk with a lot of interior designers, and of course there's almost impossible for me to have a private conversation that we don't get to. Do you know your numbers? Who helps you manage your numbers? Is it you? Is it a bookkeeper? What's your relationship with your CPA like? And so often they will say to me that, well, I've got the CPA, but it's once a year, or, maybe twice a year. I have a conversation with him or her. I don't really feel like I'm top of mind. And, to that your exact point, I will often come back with, well, we have Peter Lang, of course, you can hire him. Now maybe I can say we have Mitch, at least for my UK people. But I'd say even if you don't go to the ones that I know and you've interviewed for the show, then you should at least ask your colleagues who they use and ask for a recommendation, and keep asking until somebody says, I love my CPA. You know what I'm saying? I agree with you. The recommendation is worth everything.
Yeah, I think that, I've always tried to build the culture of our firm to be, accountants, there's a lot of old-fashioned accountants here, and the amount of people I've heard, I've got to go and see my accountant today, and they just get told how much tax they have to pay, and be on your way, pay your tax, and I'll see you next year. But I think I've always wanted to I want to be excited to go and see my accountant and be ecstatic when I leave. And I think that's something that we really, really push. So my first thing would be go to an accountant who understands and wants to hear about your vision and goals. That's something that whenever we bring in a new client or whenever we've got a current client, I make sure whoever's dealing with that client understands that person's vision and goals. That's where it all starts. Everything starts with a vision, right? Everything starts with a vision, and then you turn that vision into what you're actually trying to achieve. And I think that any accountant that doesn't ask that are definitely not the right person and the right accountants for anybody, unless they just want a basic compliance accountant and they can do everything themselves. But like I said, I think anyone who wants to grow their business and want support in growing their business, I think should always have that conversation with their accountant. And if they're aligned, then great. But I think that also speaking, we touched on it before, about speaking your own language.
Right.
No one wants to be walk out of that or have a conversation with their accountant and just feel completely overwhelmed and just not understanding anything. It doesn't make sense. So, I mean, we make sure that we try and explain things in simple terms. It makes things a lot easier, and I think that's another reason why that the creative houses like working with us. They used to work with the top four, and they just said that when people would go there and discuss things with their members who are based in their buildings, it was just a nightmare. Everyone was so complicated, and they just felt that they weren't achieving anything. It was really negative. So we like to kind of work with everyone's vision and goals, and then help them achieve. We set out what it is they're trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. And I think when we help them, we don't just help them with their figures. And I think that every accountant has enough business experience or should have enough business experience. They work with enough to be able to help people achieve what it is they're trying to achieve, whatever that may be. But that would be my first point of call is, does your accountant want to work on your vision and goals? If they don't, then they're not the right person. In my opinion, that's what it's about. That's what it's. Anyone can do compliance, can't they? I mean, there's systems. We talk about how to make it easy. QuickBooks, Xero, Sage. There's systems that you can automate pretty much everything. There's spreadsheets that you can just, which we give our creatives. You can just complete the template. We bespoke them, and you put it in, and you work out your break even, or you put it in and you work out your budget. You can automate stuff. I think where the value is in a partnership. And I think it's working with someone who you can trust, who's going to give you good advice, who you don't feel that you're doing them they don't make you feel like they're doing you a favor when you pick up the phone to them.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think that's so important, so important. But there's so many things you can do which accountants can help with, which like automate everything. QuickBooks and Xero, which you mentioned before. But yeah.
So in addition to like you mentioned, the mistake of not including the travel expenses back and forth to the project for that one designer that you worked with, are there other common accounting mistakes, I guess, is the point, but also, so I guess my question is twofold. There are mistakes that we make in our business that affect our finances, and that would be that not billing the client for travel. But then I guess there's probably a second mistake that we make is just in accounting for the expenses in our business, which creates errors and a ripple effect in the way we are able to analyze our finances. So do you want to speak to either of those maybe?
I think consistency is key in this. I think there's a lot of businesses or business owners where they'll do work and they'll wait 6 weeks before they invoice, or they'll wait until the end of the month before they invoice. And it baffles me. I don't really understand that. As soon as you do a job, you invoice, or you invoice and get money up front because of cash flow. Like we say, profit and cash are two different things. But just consistency is key. I think you have to create a certain system. So invoicing, people don't. One of the big problems I get, it's such a simple problem, is either invoice, get money up front, or invoice as soon as the job's done. It's so simple, but it's so stupid. But it's so you'll be surprised how many people I've spoken to, and you say, "Have you invoiced for this job?" Like, I haven't had the time to do it.
I know. No, yeah. I'm going to tell you what. This I know to be a common thing that happens, and I'm laughing, not from all of my colleagues in the industry who I know have fallen prey to this, but I'm laughing because my husband is a lunatic. His degree is in accounting, Mitch, and he has been the financial manager of our business for 39 years. And I'm going to tell you what, he is like a dog with a bone at the end of every single day. We've got 5 or 6 installers out on the road. We've got 3 salespeople out on the road, and every single day, you can find him between the last hour and a half of the hour to 2 hours that he's going to be in that business that day, walking around and finding all the money. Okay, did we have collect here? Did we finish this? Are we collecting? Did we get that credit card? Did we get a check? You have a deposit. Did you do that? I mean, it's nuts. He is possessed. Okay. And it's like funny because we all know all of a sudden he comes out of his office and we're all like, okay, give him your money, give him your money. But
it's true.
It's what he does. And it's what makes us, profitable because he always, what happens is when you don't invoice in real time, to your point, you forget about invoices. You forget to send bills. And yes, there's automation now and everything else, but I am working with designers in the insides of their business. And I know that when invoicing doesn't happen timely, it gets forgotten or it gets fought with, right? That's another thing that happens. Maybe you do wake up in 6 or 8 weeks and you're like saying to your client, oh, here's your final invoice for the project I finished a couple of months ago. And now they want to debate it. They want to push it back because it doesn't feel right. And they feel like that's the open door to debate it. Right, Mitch?
LuAnn, it's so common. It's probably the most common, but it's so stupid, but so common, right?
Yeah. It's just hard. It's just hard. If you don't have a specific person in your business that traces and tracks the money, if it is up to you, it is hard to do. And it's like doing sit-ups. If you're going to do them, you got to do them every day. And if you're going to do them once every 6 months, don't even bother.
It's true. It's very true. But I think there are simple things to make it easier. So, for example, we talk about apps and we talk about, QuickBooks and Xero. These days, you literally can get apps on your phone. And you fill in the information, you click send, you send the invoice on the job or whenever you explain to the client, we're going to send you the invoice over now. It's got a 2-week or a month payment terms. And then it chases automatically. So you can literally set up your credit control with it. So there's things that you can do to solve those issues. But it goes into, once you've invoiced 2 months later, then like you say, the credit control, that is another major issue. People doing their own credit control. And it goes from, we can talk about small businesses and we can talk about large businesses. We have large businesses that sometimes they're owed nearly 50% of what they've turned over. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
And they wonder where the cash is and why they can't draw money from their business and why they're always struggling for cash.
I know. It's funny because you say, where is the cash? This is another thing that my husband on every Monday, we will go through our team meeting and we'll review all the projects that we did the week before, all the projects that are coming up this week. Installers and salespeople talk to each other to get the details that maybe were not transferred to the paper, the invoice or something. And then we go to problems not paid file and problems to be resolved file. Problems not paid file, Mitch, is everything we finished, but you just didn't pay us. And problems to be resolved is a project that we were on that we did not complete because of a deficiency. No matter whose deficiency, the clients, the vendors, ours, doesn't matter. But every single Monday, he adds up the money in those two files. And he says, I want all of you to know that we have $125,000 sitting on the street. That's our money that we've paid the bills on already and that we haven't gotten our profit from yet. We need to close these down, right? I mean, that's where you're finding your money, right?
Well, if you look at it another way and you think that whilst you're trying to get cash in to pay people and to grow your business, there's other businesses out there that you're lending money to.
Exactly.
You become like a bank.
Right. You become the other person's bank, right? You're sitting there trying to meet your payroll or put a car payment down or, I don't know, do something fun with it. And meanwhile, your client has got you as, the bank of interior designer, right?
Exactly. And, people want to draw money from that, when I say about vision and goals, and let's put away from business, that people have families, people have personal goals, people want to buy the house of their dreams, people want to go traveling. You want to be able to draw money. The whole point, you draw money for your business, you go and, be happy and happy, that's what you want to do. And literally because your credit control or you've not invoiced something, it's stopping you living your life.
Yeah.
And I think we get a lot of businesses say, yeah, I'll do it, I'll invoice, and they forget. And I think if we go backwards to a good accountant, where you said before about, what would you look for in an accountant? Accountability as well. One thing that we have been extremely good at, and again, something else that differentiates us from other firms, if I say so myself, is accountability. We make people accountable. We've got a whole department, a division in our firm that specialize in accountability. So we will have calls with clients and we will have meetings with clients, and we will say, right, from this, what are you going to do away from this? And it might be, I'm going to make sure I'm going to put an invoicing system in, or I'm going to set up Xero. We're going to set up Xero, or I'm going to get credit control and I'm going to make sure we get this money in. And we will follow up and make sure they do it. And I think that accountability in anything is absolutely key. And that's one thing I feel that the industry, like a creative character, isn't necessarily strong at, is making themselves. And by the way, I'm trying not to generalize, because I do understand that there are extremely financial-minded, creative people. But from a majority, I'm not creative. I'm an accountant, but creative, that culture, there's a lack of accountability. It's a lot of the time it's very laid back, and it's, I'll do it later. I just want to create. I just want to design. So I think accountability is key. And if you struggle with that, bring in someone else, or bring in a specialist that are going to be strong at that, because accountability, making you do something that you weren't going to do, is so important. It's so important.
I agree 100%. And I love that you have that feature built in, the accountability, because that is true. And look, again, I use the analogy to sit-ups. It's no different than a personal trainer or an accountant. It's any professional that you hire, you're going to them because their expertise is greater than yours, and you value and you need that expertise. And inherent in that is that little layer of, it's probably also something that I'm not so great at, or I don't love doing. And that doesn't mean that I don't find it valuable, and doesn't mean I don't know that I should do it. So when, I imagine you having a meeting with me about my business, and you say, hey, go do these 3 things. And I know that you're going to call me and ask me if I did them. I'm much more likely to do them. It's human nature, right? And so that's awesome. And that is very much missing in, you said it a few moments ago earlier, the old style of accounting. And I know my friend Peter Lang also, you sound much like him. He's like, that old guard of accounting, that's dinosaur of accounting. That's over. We have to be more proactive in our clients' lives. And I hear the same in you, and I think it's awesome. So I have a question for you. You had mentioned to me that there are accounting trends and coming up for interior designers. What do you mean by that? You had said that to me off air.
Well, I think we've been quite fortunate over here from what the government, obviously not fortunate that there's been a virus that's over here, but the government have actually, they stopped the property market. Obviously, interior designers, property works together. As soon as you stop the property market, people don't want, normally interior design happens when you buy somewhere new, or people will stop spending money. Anyway, what's happened is the government, there's something over here called stamp duty. Don't know whether you get something like that over there. It's a property tax. When you buy somewhere, they charge you an additional, say, 15% or just a higher rate of what the property's worth. And what the government have done is they've got rid of it for until March, I believe. Oh. So if you buy a property now, you basically save a lot of money.
Wow.
If you buy a property. So now what you're getting is a complete U-turn in the property market, and now everybody is looking to buy. Everyone I speak to are discussing potentially moving somewhere, and not just moving somewhere to either get bigger or smaller, moving somewhere because for the sake of it, just because, they just think, oh, we fancy a change. We can save money here. Why not? So it's created a huge boost in the property market, which obviously means that interior designers are going to get busy. And for example, I'm moving at the moment, and I'm actually going to the new place tomorrow with an interior designer. And from chatting to our designers, they're just extremely busy with inquiries. Problem with that is that now everyone's too busy to invoice, and now everyone's too busy to do credit control. So it's a vicious circle, isn't it?
Yeah.
So now I think anyone who says they're too busy to do stuff, and this is what I was talking about with the trend and the amount of conversations, not just with creatives, but with business owners in general. Oh, I'm too busy to do that. I'll do it then. I'll do it. And you know what? It's just an excuse. There's never a right time to do it. And the problem is the longer you leave it, the more problems you're going to get. And this is where the accountability comes in. So yeah, the trend. So I would say to all interior designers, there is going to be a boom in the market, especially over in the UK. But I don't know what's going to. They're now predicting a V. And even if it's not busy in the States, now's the perfect time to get organised. Yeah. And it's going to get busy in the UK. Again, that now is the best time to get organised and get your systems in place. And it's not scary. You get the right firm. It's really, really simple. And it's not complicated whatsoever. I think a lot of people worry about that, don't they? A lot of people worry, oh, it's so complicated. I haven't got I can't be bothered. It's not. It's really, really simple.
Yeah, I love it. I think, and you know what? Your point is well made. We always want to be prepared for the next busy rush in our business. And being prepared means having our systems on the back end, buttoned up. And one of those systems is finance. So I think it's awesome. So Mitch, you have this program that is global. Of course, your accountancy is for UK because that has its legal boundaries and so forth else. But you have consultancy and some sort of program for business owners all over the world. What is that called? And would you tell us a little bit about it?
Absolutely, I'd love to. It's called the Interactive Accelerator Program. We call it the IAP.
Take me through it for a little bit. So, interactive acceleration. This is a monthly thing. Do you meet with? Is it group coaching?
Yeah,
is it one-on-one? How does it work?
So we do groups. It's called the Interactive Acceleration Program, and it started actually in COVID. So, during the whole thing when everyone went into lockdown. Everyone was, governments made accountants important, and we offer high-level consultancy. People pay us, some companies pay us a fortune to do consultancy and to work with them on a consultancy level. But everyone needed consultancy at that time. Everybody was calling us, can you help us? Can you help us? And it was like, how do we make what it is we do accessible to everybody? Because, it's not just about making money, it's about helping business owners achieve their goals, which is what we stand for. So it's about helping that, the money's irrelevant. So what we did is we thought, okay, now that everyone's virtual, now no one can go out, let's create an interactive program, which means it can reach out globally, right? And no matter where you are in the world, you still have visions and goals, you still have mindset, you still have sales and marketing, you still got to work on your cash flow, you still got teams and culture, profit, that still exists. So it kind of works. So we've got people all over the world. We group them in 10, and we have our head of consultancy that takes it along with some of the members in his team. And we bring in specialists per area. So they happen every fortnight, and we have 10 business owners per group. And it's really good actually, because they actually help each other. We had someone come on the other day. We were in team and culture, and she said that she lost her biggest. Again, it was actually an architect company, and they lost their biggest client, and she was in tears at the start. And it was unbelievable to see people coming together. Everyone was talking to her, saying, "Oh no, you should do this and do that." Anyway, by the end of the call, she was just like, "Right, I'm gonna." She was motivated. Everyone was there. They helped her. They got rid of anxieties. They told their stories about what they were going through. Anyway, she came on 2 weeks later. And she said that she picked up an even bigger contract. Wow. And she won back the old contract.
Now she had a new problem she was crying about. I don't have staff to do all this.
Exactly, but it works. And what it does is it's a program that no one else is doing. And we tested it in March. In the first 2-3 weeks of April. And we just to give you a bit more detail, we have something called the Wheel of Success. And in those wheels, it's split up into a few areas: vision and goals, mindset, sales and marketing, cash flow, team and culture, profitability, and systems and processing. And each session, we touch on each area. We talk about there'll be questions in there for what's your vision, what's your goals, and have you wrote down your 3-5 year goals? Have you got an exit plan? And at the end of it, we bring in specialists per area. So for example, mindset, we may bring in, we brought in a psychologist, a business psychologist for one, and he was talking about how to relax the mind, how to get rid of programming. And, if you've come from a small-minded background, how to open your mind into thinking big, things like that. And at the end of it, everyone's left with things to do. So again, coming back to accountability, they get action points. These are your action points. It's written down, it's in writing, and we follow up with them to make sure they've done it. And then a fortnight later, when we discuss the next topic, for the first 10 minutes, we cover all the action points that were done, or if they weren't done, why weren't they done? But everyone's accountable with each other. So it's good. Everyone bounces ideas off each other. And I think we've got about 250 people on it at the moment. And I would say there's been a minimum 100 success stories so far. It's unbelievable. And the beauty of it is it's worldwide. So anybody can join.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah, it is good. It is good. So that's why I thought location wise, when, the US, UK, we've actually got about 100 business owners from the US, all started from word of mouth. We had one company in San Diego, then all of a sudden it's in Texas now. So it's really, really good.
So let me ask you a question. Do you, when a company joins, do you assign them to a group that has similar revenue, gross revenue numbers, or it's not that type of in the weeds premise? Because the problems facing someone that's doing their first $100,000 or $200,000 a year in business is different than the business owner that is doing $4 or $5 million a year in business. So.
Absolutely. No, so we assess the situation. So we completely assess everybody that's coming on board and where they're at. But what you might get is someone who's turning over 5 million actually being able to help the one who's turning over 100 or just starting, and helping them get to the next level. And these are the problems I faced. Make sure you deal with them now. And then vice versa, we'll have the same thing. We'll have, we had one recently where we had a business owner that turns over only 20,000. It's so minimal compared to someone who turned over 10 million. But what we got, the feedback was the owner of the 10 million business said, do you know what? I forgot why I originally started this in the first place. And I got sucked in. So I speak into this person who's just started, where the vision is there and the passion is there still. She actually said, I became robotic. And now from speaking to this person, I've got my passion back. I know the reason why. I know my why again. And so it benefits. But we don't just put them in groups. We assess the situation. We assess their characters. Because, some people may not get on with one another.
Right.
So, but we assess the situation, and it's worked. We haven't had a problem with that yet.
Very exciting.
Which is really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool. I love that idea. It's like a global mastermind.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, some of the success stories are just, and they're quite touching, seeing how many people are there for one another and care about each other and wanting people to do well. And that's what it's all about.
That's outstanding. I love it. That's so exciting. Really, really good stuff. So how does somebody join or apply to be part of this interactive acceleration program, Mitch?
Literally just have to get in touch with us. We haven't marketed it how we should have, because
you just did, Mitch. I hate to tell you.
No.
Just did.
What I mean, okay, yeah, fine. What I mean is, we haven't sent out content and we haven't gone to the outside world to get people to apply yet, because we haven't.
Get ready.
So, yeah, exactly. So all people need to do is get in touch with us. Just email in. We haven't actually got a link for people to click to join or anything like that. It's, we're getting people just coming to us.
So what email should they send it to?
Yeah, they can send it to Mitch, and go direct to me, mitch@nordens.co.uk. And and they can find out more.
Okay, Nordens, right? Mitch at Nordens.
Yeah.
.co.uk.
Sorry, yeah, .co.uk. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, forgot that bit. .co.uk.
All right, get ready. Just telling you. That sounds amazing, that program. I have a question I want to ask you. One more question before I let you go. This is a pretty interesting question. When I was on your LinkedIn profile, I saw, and what I'm curious is this a technical description that maybe I'm not familiar with in the accountant world or the business world, but your LinkedIn profile says Mitch Hahn, CEO closer at Nordens. Now I'm reading that as I'm the one who closes the sales. Is that what that means, or is it a term that means something different in your world there, in either at your firm or in the business world that I've not heard?
You know what? I've been watching too much Suits. That's what it is. Harvey Specter. So I look at closers as making, do you know what? Closing a sale. I look at it as making things happen. It's one thing that I can describe myself. It's I make things happen. And if I agree with something and I like the idea of something, I won't just talk about it. I make myself accountable when I go and do it. And do you know what? You laugh. I was watching Suits. Everyone, I don't know, it's massive in the States. I don't know if you're familiar with it. There's a character on there, Harvey Specter.
Of course.
He's a closer. That's what he calls himself, right?
Yeah.
And he makes, no matter what we say about him, he makes things happen. He gets stuff done. And I love that. So I actually took it from you across the pond.
I love it. You don't know how much I love it because, I feel like I'm going to say LuAnn Nigara, closer, podcast host, speaker, author.
Do you make things happen?
I do. I absolutely do. Well, I have to tell you, I'm so excited. All of the things that you taught us, I really, really do appreciate your spending your time on the show with me today.
Thank you. Honestly, thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Very good.
If you are working with an accountant that you are not excited about, actually, let me rephrase that. That is not excited about working with you, right? Then hearing Mitch talk should be a game changer. And I hope it's the thing that motivates you to go out, ask questions, and find someone who appreciates and values your business. Okay? We're smart people, right? We've built businesses. We're capable. What we don't need is someone to throw jargon at us and then look at us as if we don't get it and that we're not capable of getting it. All right? We just need someone to communicate with us in the right way, to teach us the basics that we need to know. All right. And sometimes we need someone to take us by the hand and say, you have to do this in order to invoice. You have to do this in order to get paid. You have to do these things to sustain your business. All right. The thing about this is the value is in the partnership. Don't underestimate that. Okay, don't underestimate that. And the other takeaway that I have is how Mitch feels that the next level is beyond the spreadsheet. It's the help with the financial planning, right? The complications that come up as you grow and the strategies that you have to put into place to make sure that you are moving in the right direction. These are the kinds of things that your accountant should be helping you with. Don't take no for an answer. All right. I have to say, I loved seeing closer on his LinkedIn and then finding out it's because of Suits. I don't know if you watch the show or not, but I do watch the show and I love it. And I have to say, I think the term really does fit him very well. You can tell that he is the kind of person who makes things happen. All right. I also have to say it's true. He does remind me so much of my friend Peter Lang. They have so many of the same shared ideals. And the thing is, first of all, if you haven't heard Peter's episodes, you can check them out, episodes 349 and 464. And the other thing I want you to know that in just a few weeks, Peter is teaching cloud-based accounting for us, cloud-based accounting 201. Go to theprofitisInthenumbers.com. TheprofitisInthenumbers.com. Registration is open now. imagine spending 6 weeks with Peter, an hour and a half each week, plus face group access in between classes. The timing couldn't be better too, because just when we're going into Q4 and all of your end of year finances need to be pulled together, and more importantly, just like Mitch said, it's time to understand your reports so that you can set your financial goals for 2021. This is exactly what Peter is going to help you with. So this is a 201 course. This is not a beginner course. This is the next level where you already understand your QuickBooks, but maybe you're just missing, well, how do I use this information to plan for profit and to plan for tax preparation, right? So go to theprofitisinthenumbers.com. And honestly, I can't believe it's the end of the summer. We're starting in a few weeks. So head over to registration. All right. Now, just like Peter and Mitch Hahn, who bring something ethical to the accounting business, J4 Living, our show sponsor, is also somebody that believes in bringing ethics to their business, all right? In fact, 95% of designer customers rate J4 Living as better than other rug companies. J4 Living approaches their business from this ethical standpoint, committed to supporting their artists and rug makers, their communities, and the employees of J4 Living. Their vertical business model means that they are in control of the entire manufacturing process, so they can easily ensure quality, consistency, and social responsibility. Visit jpourliving.com/LuAnn to get started with their designer trade program. That's JAIPUR living.com/LuAnn. All right, one last thing before I go. I have to talk about Mitch's interactive acceleration program. I mean, how amazing is this? A global mastermind. I love this idea. I love that you are, you have accountability and group coaching, and they place you in the right place. I love that they bring specialists in, whether they're focusing on mindset, goal setting, profits, whatever it is. I mean, coaching is so valuable to leveling up your business. I know it firsthand from running my own mastermind groups with LuAnn Hahn and the ones I've done on my own. You know, the takeaways and the transformation that come from not only who's leading the group with you, but that peer accountability are really remarkable. So if you are interested in this, I encourage you to email Mitch, just like he said, at mitch@nordens.co.uk. mitch@nordens.co.uk. All right. Now, I hope that you got some aha moments from this episode. I hope that if you need a new accountant, one who will be a true partner to you, that you go and you do it, okay? Because you deserve it. All right. Thank you so much for listening today. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannniagara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.